Hello, everybody. My name is Coach Marissa. Sorry, I'm just getting situated here. Having a little bit of technical difficulties today. How's everyone doing? If you are here live with me, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat so I can see you. Today, what we are going to be talking about is coming from Rebecca's talk that she did on Tuesday, where she talked about how the first step of mental skills training is awareness. So, how you can be more aware of the skills that your athlete is currently using, and that's what's going to be beneficial for them. So, Rebecca was talking a lot about self confidence, talking about how self talk can really help with that. And one thing that she mentioned was how you can be the good coach for yourself. So, whether you have a good coach or whether you need to be that one for yourself, taking control over your thoughts is how you're going to get there. So, what we're going to do today is dive a little bit more into how you can do that and how you can make it a habit of being that good coach for yourself. So, before we dive into the mental skills that your athlete can use to get there, let's take some time and talk about the mental skills that you might be using that aren't really working. So, the first one is negative self talk. So, when you are constantly being negative or using that negative self talk, you might be saying things like, ugh, I can't believe I'm not getting this, or why can't I do it while everyone else is? This type of negative self talk, the more that you do it, the more you are lowering your self confidence. So every time you step up to do your skill and you picture yourself crashing and burning, and you say to yourself, ugh, I'm probably going to fall, that's destroying your confidence over and over again. So, when you are doing this, you are creating that self fulfilling prophecy. And if I have any golfers watching with me right now, you know what I mean when I say this. Because in golf, it is against the unwritten law to say something like, I hope I don't hit it into the water, or I hope I don't hit it into the trees. Because if you say that to yourself, where's the ball going to go? Into the water or into the trees. So the same goes for any sport that you're with. If you're telling yourself what not to do, like, I hope I don't fall, then your brain is going to hear that and it's going to listen, but it's going to get rid of that don't. And it's just going to hear the word fall. So if you're constantly having that negative self talk or telling yourself those things, that's where you're most likely going to end up balking or falling when you come to that. So we have to come up with a plan for you to follow so that even if you do have that thought, you can quickly overcome it and be more productive with your self talk. Another mental skill that you might be using that isn't working in your favor is putting a ton of pressure on yourself and becoming impatient when you're not reaching your goals. So if you keep saying to yourself, I need to hurry up and just get this skill, your brain is saying, whoa, slow down, we're not there yet. And that's whenever you're going to freeze. If you've ever gone to do a skill and you really want to do it and you can't understand why, it's because your brain's protecting you. So this is why you're freezing or you're balking on your skills, is because your brain doesn't feel confident enough to get there to allow you to follow through. And if you're trying to be perfect all the time and you say things like, well, practice makes perfect, I just need to practice, 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 this is causing too much pressure to be put on your brain. And your brain just wants to go into protection mode and go hide. So you could be the hardest worker out there. But if you're constantly striving for perfection, you're always going to be let down because nobody's perfect. And perfection isn't realistic. So learning how to overcome that perfection, how to be more patient with yourself and stop putting that pressure is really where the money is and where things are going to go right for you. So now that we've gone through the mental skills that aren't working, let's go through some that will work. So the first one, instead of having negative self-talk, let's focus on positive or even neutral self-talk. When you have positive or neutral self-talk, what happens is this enhances your motivation. It changes what you believe to be true. It actually calms your nerves. So what you say to yourself can actually turn on or turn off that fight or flight response that you're feeling and help you calm down. It helps you prepare and it helps you put in more effort. So that is what positive and neutral self-talk can do for you. And in just a little bit, I'm going to dive in more into how to create that positive or neutral self-talk and make it a habit. Um, Onto the pressure side, so instead of putting a ton of pressure on yourself, focus on just working hard. Focus on just the effort that you're putting in each day. Say, I'm going to show up to practice and give 100% every single time I go. And know that time is your friend. So instead of saying, I need to hurry up and just get this skill because my coach wants me to, or because I know that I need to do it, instead just focus on the process. Ask for help if you need it that day. Ask for a mat, ask for a spot, whatever it might be. And just change the way that you're talking to yourself and make time your friend, because you are in more control of time than you think you are. And instead of saying the famous practice makes perfect, I want you to start saying practice makes progress. Because again, perfection, it's unrealistic, it's not attainable. So instead, every time you practice, know that you're making progress in the right direction. So we know that positive and neutral self talk works, and we know that making time your friend are mental skills that are going to help build up that confidence that you're looking for. And what I really want to dive into today is how to make it into a habit or a routine that you can do every single practice, that you are constantly, again, building up that progress that you're looking for. So the first step, and this is something that we do with our Perform Happy members, is have yourself or our members write down a list of negative thoughts that you know you're going to have in practice or that you've had before. So write these down on a sheet of paper. And once you've written all of them down, I mean, just keep going. There should be probably a lot of them if you're someone that has a lot of negative self talk. Write them all down on a sheet of paper. And once you've written them down, write something neutral or positive next to it. So for every negative thought that you've written down, write down something neutral or positive. And what's important with these neutral and positive thoughts is that you need to make them facts. You need to make them realistic so that your brain has no option to argue with you about it. So don't write down things like, oh, I'm going to be perfect every single time I go out, or I'm going to be amazing, because your brain might not believe you. So instead, say something like, I'm going to give my full effort during this pass, or I've done this before, I know I can do it again. Your brain can't argue with that because it's a fact. You have done this skill before, you know that you can do it again. So come up with this list, and if you want to make it interactive and kind of like a game, your brain loves when you make things fun and interesting because it wants to pay attention more, and it doesn't feel like it's just a task you need to do. So if you want to make it a game, on the way to practice, have your mom or dad or whoever's driving you shout out negative thoughts that you might say, and then you combat it with a positive or neutral thought, and just kind of go back and forth and have this little game and say, nope, I'm not going to say that, I'm going to say this instead. Or if you don't want to do it with someone else and you want to keep it a little bit more private, that's totally fine. Do this while you're warming up before practice. Go through a list, either write them down or say them in your head, and every time you come up with one negative thought, switch it and come up with a neutral or positive thought to replace it. What's important is you have to come up with something to replace it, because if you just leave your mind blank and say, you know what, I'm just not going to think that negative thought, it's really easy for your brain to keep thinking it over and over again, because clearing our head is really difficult. So coming up with something to replace it is the key to making your self-talk stay neutral and positive. And then the next step of becoming more aware of what mental skills are and aren't working for you is to keep some type of mental toughness journal. So again, you want to create a habit out of this. So this could be something that's done in the car ride home after practice, or right when you get home, so it's fresh in your mind. And when you keep a journal, these are the things that I want you to write down. Number one, what were my thoughts before practice? What was I saying to myself? What was going through my head? What were my thoughts during practice and at critical moments? So what I mean by critical moments are while you're taking a break or before you go for a skill, what is your thought process during that? And then I want you to write down what your thoughts were after practice. So 3 things: before practice, during practice, and after practice. Once you've done that, I want you to ask yourself what went well. So just very broadly or specifically, what went well during that day? Next, what could have gone better? And then what do I want to focus on next time? So going through this journal is going to give you that self-awareness of, okay, these were my thoughts during practice. This is what went well. This is what could have gone better. And by looking at that, this is what I want to focus on next time. It gives your brain something to focus on. So when you go into practice, you're not like, I don't know what to do today. You already have a plan set in place for what to do. And then I always think it's a good idea to end your journal and end your day with coming up with things that you're grateful for or that you're proud of yourself for. So if you went for a skill today that you haven't gone in a while, or maybe it was something as simple as like you cheered on your teammate and you haven't done that in a while, or you asked for help when you needed it. That is something you can be proud of yourself for. So write down, I would say, at least 3 things that you're either grateful for or that you're proud of yourself for at the end of each practice. So, when making journaling a habit, there's a few things that need to be put in place when creating any type of habit, but especially when journaling. So, first thing is make it noticeable. If your journal is hidden away in a bookcase in a room that you never go into, then you're probably not going to journal. So, put your journal in your gym bag or put it on the seat in your car so when you get in, you immediately see it. Or put it on your nightstand next to your bed so before you go to sleep, you can see it and grab it. Making it noticeable, your brain has to make that conscious decision to not do it versus if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. The next step is make it easy. So, knowing exactly what you want to write down. Go through those 5 questions that I just listed every single time, and you don't have to think about, well, what am I supposed to say today? Go through those 5 questions and answer them. It shouldn't take you more than 5 to 10 minutes to journal after practice each time. Also, make it easier for yourself by keeping a pen or pencil with you every time. Keeping a pen or pencil with your journal every time you go to write into it. So you're not searching around and then you can't find a pen and then you just don't journal because you get frustrated. So keep it easy. And then last, pair it with something that you already do. So maybe after practice, on the way home, you always eat a snack. While you're eating this snack, journal. Or maybe when you get home, that's whenever you go and get a snack and then you write in your journal. Pair it with something you already do because then your brain will automatically put these two together. So every time you go to get that snack, your brain's like, I should be doing something else. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be journaling. So when you pair things, you're way more likely to do it. So those are the 3 steps to helping making journaling more of a habit is make it noticeable, make it easy, and pair it with something that you already do. So, getting into the habit of becoming more aware of your thoughts before practice and knowing what you want to replace them with, and then journaling about it afterwards. If you can get into this cycle, you're going to be so much more self aware of what is working for you and what is not working for you. You begin to realize, okay, maybe I'm a really bad coach when I go for this skill, but I'm actually a pretty good coach when I go for this skill. How can I make that happen more? Or maybe you're going to realize I feel really confident when I tell myself this, but when I try to tell myself this, my brain doesn't really believe it. And then you can start to realize, okay, I need to focus on what is making me go for these skills instead of things that aren't. So the more you practice, the more you journal and make a habit out of it, the more confident you're going to become. And I want to leave you with remembering habits are about getting 1% better every single day. So it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it might be a little while before you start seeing some progress and before your brain starts believing what you're saying to yourself. But I promise you, if you trust the process and if you trust yourself, you're going to get through it, and your brain is going to start trusting you more, which is going to build up that confidence so that you can go to your sport, and do the skills that you want to do. So that is how the steps on trying to make your mental skills that are working for you work for you more and to get out of the habit of those skills that might not be working for you. If you have any questions, let me know and we'll talk again soon. Bye.